They're just black, beady eyes. Oh, so cute. You are probably the goofiest turtle around. Welcome to one of the self-proclaimed coolest reptile rooms on the internet, where we love to drink coffee and share these 150 reptiles that we keep in our room with all of you guys, because there's some cool stuff we're going to be feeding today. We're going to be giving you guys updates on everything, and we're just going to throw it back to a classic reptile room tour style. Make sure you grab your brew or water or whatever you please. I currently have what looks to be a giant soup bowl filled with coffee. Let's get started with talking about the warning that I always give in the beginning of these videos, because it is very important to me that while this is designed to be entertaining and cool to see some new species that you probably haven't seen before, I also recognize that this is a very specific case that me and my girlfriend are in here working our butt off every single day. And it's not for the faint of heart. Now, simply because we have all these reptiles does not mean that I want to encourage everybody to get them, because it's not easy to look after all these animals. There's a ton of work, a ton of sacrifice, a ton of money go into it. This is meant to be kind of educational and fun for you guys, rather than encouraging a ton of people going out there and buying a whole bunch of reptiles that they probably shouldn't own. We're going to get into this reptile room tour for July 2024. I did want to say a huge thank you to RealLink for sponsoring today's episode. If you guys are curious about home security and how it can help with your reptile room, check out the RealLink link down below and go save yourself some moolah. But I'll be talking about that more later on in the video, so let's get this video going. We're going to start at the bottom of this rack here because the Ratsnake is actually out. Starting off with our beautiful cardinal. She is the Thai bamboo ratsnake, otherwise known as the Oreocryptophis porphyraceus coxeye. What a mouthful that is, but what a stunning snake she is. Cardinal is doing fantastic. She just shed about a week ago, maybe slightly less, while the isopods are doing their job and taking care of the shed in the tank. The thrips in this tank have driven the tank to a point of no return, and I mean that sincerely. You guys can see over here just how miserable these leaves are looking. I mean, you can see all the thrips on them as well. It is just really not good. So we are actually going to Retake Fest this weekend. We're picking up some defense against the thrips. We're going to see if it works. Hopefully it does, because this is just ridiculous. We've been fighting them. You can see all the thrip packs in there. They don't really do anything. This is just one of those tanks that needs to be bombed and controlled, and hopefully they don't come back. Besides Cardinal doing absolutely fantastic, look at her. I mean, you can't really find a stark red snake with black straps going down the dorsal line and a completely pure white belly. With that being said, my rambling about Cardinal can finish, and she can be sorely disappointed as I do not have food for her. Over here, we have my boy Ender. He was one of my first few snakes that I ever got. I mean, I guess he is still one of my few snakes that I currently own. He is a Savu Python, otherwise known as a Liasis savuensis. They have been speciated, so these are out of date. He's doing great. He's about a 4-year-old male Savu Python. He's about 3.5 feet-ish long and very, very thin. I mean, to the point where I can't even see him in here. He's dug down into one of the cork hollows, as that's where he likes to chill. He can be quite cage defensive, but the second you get him out, he's great. He just tries to kind of run around and explore. In his enclosure, he is very much a Savu Python. He did just shed, as you guys can see back there. I did end up pulling some of it out, but couldn't get it all, so the isopods will take care of that, which is fantastic. Ender here will be due for an upgrade quite soon. We're not really at the point of upgrading him just yet, but in the next probably 6 months or so, he'll be getting a new tank. We have a lot of stuff happening this summer in the reptile room, and it is actually happening. You'll hear more about it later in the episode, but just know that there's a ton of upgrades coming very soon. No complaints overall. I just wish you guys could see him. And moving up to the dart frog level, I guess I can just do an update on all the dart frogs here, not necessarily follow the flow of the room. This tank houses my Oophaga histrionica fuego. These are my breeding pair up here. We got the female there. The male is chilling up here. Their tank is doing well. I did actually just redo a whole bunch of different parts of it, so that video will probably actually be posted before this one, so make sure you guys go check that out. I actually did do quite a lot in here, and it did pain me to cut back all that moss. I'm hoping it's for a better cause, and that moss will return over time. Plants are doing well. I have planted a few other plants, and unfortunately now we only have 2 babies in here. We have the beautiful bright orange one down there. Over there, we have the super, super mega yellow one. I believe that one has an issue with the one arm that you guys can see. I'm not sure if it's broken or what happened, but it is a little bit wonky. Animal's doing fine, eating, doing great. It's just in terms of like selling and stuff like that, I'll have to consider that, or I might just end up keeping it forever and giving it a good home here. Anyway, that is the first 110-gallon vivarium. I don't know why we do that still. Like, these hold air. Why are we using volume? It's a 33-inch by 22-inch by 33.5-inch tall cube enclosure. Recently, I ended up picking up a pair of the Ufaga Pumilio Bahia Grande from one of my good friends, Gary. These two are both doing fantastic. If only I could see them. I have seen them several times, but it's amazing how the frogs can just completely disappear in this enclosure. I did also do an update video on this enclosure where I went through, took down everything in here, as well as replanted it. So if you guys are interested in kind of a planting type video and just a general update on this tank, that is where you're going to find it. And overall, everything's doing all right. This ant plant, ant fern, is doing really good, which I love the look of. It looks so cool. I wish I could show you some frogs, but it doesn't look like they're out right now. Some of the other fuego that we have that I'm currently working on their enclosure. Oh, hi. I'm hoping she is the female. If not, I think I have 3 males, and that would make me cry. Here we have a few more. I believe this one is a male. Not that we can actually see him. And this one is for sure a male. Did you give yourself a timeout or something? What are you doing? Just sitting in the cup backwards. But now that I've shown you the blue histrionica, I will just give you a little preview of what will be coming to the channel in the next little while. I'm not going to rush myself with this video, but check it out. Tank is looking solid. Still a ton more planting to do, but it is finally here. Yes! And continuing with the dart frog theme, we have the Ufaga Pumilio Bastimentos. That right there is the male. These guys are doing great. However, they are majorly overdue for an upgrade, and that upgrade is going to be essentially an exact replica of this tank, at least this design, the same dimensions. I don't really have a date because truthfully, the Pumilio really don't need to move. Just to get them breeding and stuff, I think it would be much easier to do that in a newer setup and a setup that is a bit more conducive to them and their breeding. That will be happening. I'm not going to set a time limit on it because I really don't know when, but it will be. And I am very excited. I love building tanks. Like, it is a ton of work, but it's a ton of fun. And the last dart frog that I'm going to be sharing is Orby. This is about a 2-week out of water, fresh froglet, and Orby had his beginnings as a very severe case of bloat that I'll show you a picture right now. As sad as that is, I think that might be one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. Just, I don't know, I just have a terrible sense of humor. Thank you to Dr. Hess as well as Steve for coming and actually draining Orby, and then I've been treating him with some Baytril since that draining, and he's been doing okay, which is fantastic. I'm very happy that he's still alive. And now while we're here, might as well down some coffee. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below what you're drinking during this reptile room tour what your favorite animal is. I'm curious to know what you guys like the most in the room. And maybe next reptile room tour, I'll do like a least favorite to favorite. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And now it's time to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Reolink. Reolink is a security camera company that provides monitoring solutions for all scenarios, including your reptile rooms. Our reptile room is rigged to the gills with these, and I am so happy to promote them. The cameras I'm using in the room are the Argus PT Ultra and the Argus 3 Ultra. Both cameras offer 8 megapixel 4K footage, dual band Wi-Fi connection for a speedy internet connection, battery and solar panel options, and one of my favorite parts is they both offer night vision. The Argus 3 Ultra has a 105-degree field of view, and the Argus PT Ultra has a 355-degree pan with a 140-degree tilt. Both cameras offer a wide variety of different use cases. For example, I have the Argus 3 Ultra mounted to a tripod that I can just set on one of the tanks to overlook my room, while the pan and tilt camera is a little bit less mobile, but it's fixed on the rack, and thankfully, due to the pan and tilt, I can just angle it in the app however I want. These cameras are entirely controlled by an app on your phone, and that is the best part. These cameras pair to my phone so easily and so effortlessly that it's almost fun connecting these cameras, and I don't think I've ever said that before. Everything is stored on a micro SD card, so you have to insert that into the back of the camera, which opens up a ton of other options within the app, including the ability to be notified when things are moving, and it will auto record, and then you can go back to the playback feature and look at it later. Now, probably my favorite feature of the app is the ability to time lapse. This is by far the thing that I do the most. For example, I time-lapsed me filming this entire reptile room tour. If you like what you see here and you want to add some incredible security to your reptile room or even your home, Reolink is running an incredible Prime Day deal right now from July 10th till the 21st with sales of up to 44% off in Canada, with a similar discount offered to the United States as well. Make sure you pick yours up today at the link on the screen or in the pinned comment down below. Thanks Reolink for sponsoring this video. If you guys have seen this tank in its former glory, as you can see, it's lush, green, beautiful, wow. And back to this, and now it is a desolate landscape. That is actually because we ended up losing one of the male Agaliacnus dactycolor. So Bree had a bit of a panic moment with these guys because these truly are her babies. And I talked to a good friend. He recommended that we basically set them up and don't mist them. They have a huge water bowl, so they can use that to soak rather than use misting as a source of humidity and such. So that's what we did. Overall, they're doing okay. There's no signs of illness really. Since that time, we have talked to Mike Novi of Rainforest Junkies, and he has recommended we can basically start misting these guys again. Because the humidity in our room is quite low, he did recommend continuing to mist them. So currently they're in this 12 by 12 by 18 with, again, a massive dish of water, a big kind of log for them to chill on, and then they actually have UVB and heat. They're doing well. Now, what the heck is the plan with this thing? Because this, when you walk into the room and see this decrepit, deceased tank, it is painful to look at. So what we're deciding to do is redo it. We're going to be using a cork method background, just like these guys here, probably a little bit more simple and not quite as elaborate, in order to set up a partial three-sided background. So it'll probably come about halfway, go all the way across the back, and then up halfway on the other side. And then we're going to try and make this essentially a rain chamber for them as well, with like a built-in flood system, because this holds enough water for there to be to pump in here and to pump all the necessary water up to the ceiling, and then create kind of a pipe system for it to drop down. And hopefully in the coming months, we will be able to potentially get some eggs from these guys. And while this ramble is pretty long, it is very important to notice that everybody's keeping is different. Everybody's care and homes have different parameters. And that's something that Mike Novi kind of catered to and advised us of. He said, you know, it's not a super humid room, so I would recommend that you do in fact miss them, and that's what we're doing. That was a lot. And we're going to start at the top and work our way down. In essence of transparency, we do actually have the male Ratsnake, Cove, in a bin up here, and I hate this. I hate every moment of it. I know Bree hates it. The problem with this snake is that he just doesn't do well in tanks at the moment. We had him on a breeding loan with one of our good friends. He seems to have done the job, which is fantastic. But when we got him back and kind of midway through his stay, he stopped eating and declined very rapidly. So we ended up getting him back, and we've just kept him in this bin, and he's eating, gaining weight, no longer dehydrated. As sad as it looks and as awful as I feel for keeping him in there, unfortunately that is the reality for right now. That is, of course, until Bree gets done with making this tank here, and then we'll likely try and move the pair into there because it's a lot more space. It will be really neat. Hopefully it will provide enough security for him to acclimate and just do well in essence of trying to keep the rat snakes together. That is what I'm going to do. Up here we have Chahoua. She is the female red-tailed rat snake, otherwise known as Gonyosoma oxycephalum, and she is a Borneo locale, as is Cove. So that red tail has actually shifted to be like a steel blue or like a slate blue, and they are not simply green. They are a ton of different colors, from yellow at the head to kind of a dark blue turquoise down the back, and then kind of going a little bit more greeny yellow towards the base of her tail. A very interesting snake to try and describe. Chahoua is Bree's probably like top 2 or 3 reptiles in the room. It might even be top 1. I would guess that title would have to go to Rowan, that we'll see in just a second here, but she's probably a close second because this snake is just remarkable. She's inquisitive and eats well, and when she comes out, she's very good to handle. However, similar to the Savu in the tank, she's a little bit of a spitfire, as you could tell. She is not happy. We will leave her alone. So that is Chahoua, the Gonyosoma oxycephalum. We can continue with the snake rack here, starting with Callista. Callista here gave us a good clutch of eggs. Hi, sweetie. And it's probably expecting some food here in not too long, but no double clutch this year. A lot of snakes we had last year double clutched, but none this year. Callista is an Arctic albino anaconda, otherwise known as a AAA, and she's doing great. We raised her up here, we got her as a baby, and now 3 years later, she's breeding for us, which is fantastic. And that's true with a lot of the animals we have in here. There's a lot of excitement going on right now in the room. And here is what is, I'm sure, Bree's very favorite animal in the reptile room. This is Rowan. She's simply an anaconda, or conda, whatever you want to call it. But she has some sort of essentially paradoxing. We don't really know what happened with her. This is what she looks like now. All brown with like a white head. She used to look like a normal conda, and we actually have babies from her this year. We gave her last year off, but we did decide to breed her this year, and I will be showing you her babies later on, and I can show you kind of what they look like when they come out. There's nothing pointing to say that it's genetic. We do have some interesting animals from her, and we're curious to see if those prove out or what's going on. Now, down here we have Equinox, who's a moon dust, and as always, Miss Feisty. I believe that's an Arctic lavender. She's stunning. She's probably one of our biggest hognoses, believe it or not. She's a very healthy weight, but she is very long. Probably about 3 feet-ish long, which is a pretty good size for these guys. She's doing great. We do have a clutch from her. Underneath Equinox is Sugarcane, who is going into shed, aren't you? Oh man, yes you are. And is not a happy camper. Not that she's ever really a happy camper, but she is currently going into shed, so I'm not gonna really pester her at all. I'll leave her be. You can see she is milky white. She produced a great clutch for us. She is one of our best eaters. Just a very good snake overall. She's a little hissy. When push comes to shove, she is just an incredible snake. She is a frosted anaconda, for those of you wondering. And moving down from Sugarcane is Horizon. She is the only female that decided to double clutch for us this year. And of course, she is the smallest female that we have. Thankfully, she is doing great. She has a ravenous appetite, and she is a sunburst, for those of you who are curious. Still, a stunning snake with tons of personality. She's very friendly and eats like a boss, which is sweet. This is, again, one of the snakes that we purchased as a little teeny baby, and we have raised up this entire time to grow into this beautiful adult. Again, this is one of Bree's prized possessions, and also one of my favorite snakes. And she's always looking for food. I bet you, if I stuck my finger in there, she would take a little munch. And next up, we have Scoria, who is Bree's gray-banded kingsnake. Hello? Whoa! Definitely sleeping, but also kind of scared me, I'm not gonna lie. That was a really sketchy sleeping position. So Scoria here is a gray-banded kingsnake, a Lampropeltis alterna, and she is just stunning. Bree has a thing for very clean gray bands, and I love it. You'll see when we move to the other rack towards the end of the video, but wow, these snakes are just stunning. And I'm so happy that Bree loves them as much as she does, because they're a very cool snake. Scoria is the beginning of Bree's gray-banded kingsnake project, and those will be kicking off, maybe next season? We might end up having to wait one more season. As of now, though, next season we might be able to produce these guys, and I am super excited because they are just super cool, and I've heard that they can be a little bit of a pain in the butt to get eating, but fingers crossed that we have some luck. And now for the very last bin on the rack, we have my boy, Saguaro. Hey, buddy. Saguaro here is my very first snake. He was given to me by one of my good friends, Ashley, because we helped out with one of her imports, and this was kind of my prize or my pay. He is an Arizona mountain king snake, if I didn't say that. Lampropeltis pyromilana woodeni. He has a special place in my heart, that's for sure. He's typically quite friendly, though I think now he's on the quest for food. I'm very happy that this actually was my first snake. I'm so happy I didn't pick a bull python or something like that, because I would have just been bored. This guy keeps me entertained at all times. Very interesting, very cool to learn from, and my parents also have a place in Arizona which we'll be visiting this summer, so maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to find one of these guys in the wild. We probably won't be there long enough to actually do that part of it, but that would be really, really cool. And because we're already on the ground here, I think we're going to do these guys right here, starting with the turtles. But before we do an update on them, let's give them some food because they are always a blast to watch. Collected some worms, some wax worms. Okay. I do not typically feed them wax worms all that often, simply because they're kind of fattening. But, I mean, how can you not when you have turtles that love them as good one, as much as these guys do. I do give them as an occasional treat. He loves them. I'm curious to see if the female will eat them. She didn't eat them the last time I offered them. Good one. Now you gotta get it. Nice. Oh, dude, these guys are the best. That is it for the male. And even though they are the best, I still don't have definitive names for them. So please, comment down below what you guys would like to name the beautiful Geomyda spangleri, otherwise known as the black-breasted leaf turtles. Now, she was much more timid yesterday, or a couple days ago, because of a specific reason that you guys will find out afterwards. So I'm curious if she wants this. Do you want this? Okay, well, I guess he will get your spare worm, and I'll just give you some food. Thank you. Oh. There you go. Enjoy. Enjoy your pellets. Okay. You're being weird, so enjoy eating. Anyway, now, with her kind of occupied for the time being, I can share the fantastic news that we have eggs. Let's frickin' go. So these guys were laid July 3rd, and I am so excited. Bree was actually the one that spotted them. They were buried right under this cork bark piece, so you guys can see. The flashlight on my phone sucks, but Bree actually found them because she noticed that a lot of the plants were kind of uprooted. This plant at the very back there, you guys can just see a few leaves on the ground, was like tossed way over there. A lot of the pothos was dug up too. Really, this has been essentially like 6 years. I don't know how long exactly I've had these, but I feel like it's been about 6 years. This is truly a dream come true, even if they don't look good, which I think they look okay, but apparently the veins and stuff can take like 3 weeks to actually develop, so we're just incubating them, and I just hope that these will hatch at some point in the next like 3 months. Such a long wait for them, but I assume we'll know whether they're good a good ways before that. Hopefully they are. We did see them pairing several times throughout the course of the springtime, and you goober might have finally got it done. I'm not giving you a fist bump yet, buddy. Continuing the updates on the bottom here, we have Reggie, our central pebble dragon, sitting on the rock right in front of you, as well as a group of Leucasium damium, or beaded geckos. His scientific name is Tympanocryptis centralis. Very cool little mini nano bearded dragon, basically. They're not related, I know, don't light me up in the comments. He's not a pagona, he's missing ears. Here, do you want this? I don't know if he'll actually go for it. Okay, I guess so. Nice. Would you like this? Get it. It's a worm. Just get it. I swear, there is nothing between those eyeballs. Oh, do you want this? Okay, whoa. That was awesome. I don't even know how much of that I got on camera, but hopefully most of it. I think we have gotten eggs from the females in here, but unfortunately this tank is not set up to really collect those eggs. I mentioned in the last reptile room tour, but we do have an upgrade for these guys. It will be a 24-18-18 rather than an 18-18-12 setup for easier egg collection and less easy egg hiding. Fingers crossed that works out and we were able to collect some eggs from these guys, but yeah, they're doing fantastic. All of them are eating very well. Reggie leaves these guys alone, which is awesome. Cohabbing is something that I definitely do not recommend for beginners. However, if you are experienced with keeping the animals that you are considering cohabbing, if you think it'll be okay, go for it. Just make sure you have enough space for everything that you want to keep in there. Here we have the beautiful Scaphiophryne marmorata, otherwise known as the marbled rain frog from Madagascar. That's a very unhappy froge. There it is, all covered in dirt. That is furb. These guys are typically known as a fossorial species. However, as I say in all my reptile room tours, in Madagascar, we saw them exclusively like 4 feet off the ground. Yes, there is some bias while looking. That is, you know, kind of where our eye level is and, well, where Adam's eye level is and where we are looking down at. Plenty of climbing room for them in this tank, and we do regularly see them up, like back there on the background, hanging out on these logs and stuff that we have set up. So they will utilize the height if given it, and they do enjoy climbing to a certain degree. I hope you guys love these as much as I do. They're very cool. I'm so happy that we got to see them in the wild, and I'm very happy that Bree loves them. We're gonna skip over the Tachydromus for right now, and we're actually gonna go up to the Boega. The male Boega is currently not out. He is the only one actually living in this setup currently. All right, and this is the female Boega, Nigroceps, or the dark-headed Catsnake. She just laid us a fresh clutch of 3 eggs, and she just laid us a fresh clutch of 4 eggs. She really messed up her nose there. Oh yeah, you guys can see. So we're currently just keeping her in a very simplistic kind of quarantine-like setup with paper towel, changing the paper towel regularly. Yeah, making sure she is kind of in pristine condition. We're also giving it some washes with the Vetricin, as well as applying a fantastic product called Dermagel to it. That stuff is like magic. It is kind of crazy how well it works. While she heals, we just keep her nice and clean. And moving from the Boega tank over to the Chahoua tank, way up top on this rack, we keep our pairs of Chahoua in 18-18-24 exos. Someday I wouldn't mind upgrading that to like 18-18-36. These guys are Kestrel and Vendetta, and unfortunately, I've already filmed this clip and they are nowhere to be found. So Vendetta is looking extremely gravid and about to lay, but we have not seen any eggs yet. So fingers crossed for the near future. These guys are kept with UVB as well. And unfortunately, we had to turn off the LED light that's actually behind the UVB there because it was getting too warm up there for these dudes. Then we can move down to our second pair of Chahoua. They are also nowhere to be found. Again, 18-18-24, fully custom background. Yeah, the Sansevieria are doing great. These are actually a Tradescantia of some kind. As per usual, our pothos that we always plant in the back never does well. Never ever. They always do terrible. I don't know why. Don't know why. I think it's just the consistency of the soil and it's probably drying out, even though we do mist it. Frankly, I don't know. And it's pothos, so I don't care. Hopefully, our unnamed holdback will take the cake and show us what a beautiful Chahoua looks like. And he does not disappoint. Whew. Very red, very kind of pastel oranges and yellows, peach colors. Just a stunning baby Chahoua, especially at this age. Because if you guys don't know, Chahoua typically gain color for at least the first 2 years or so of their life. And then at 2 years to kind of 4 years, they're about the most colorful they'll ever be. And then they kind of slowly lose color after that. But doesn't mean they can't produce some incredible babies. And unfortunately, we no longer have the pair that produced this goofball. Stunning little holdback. Just a couple weeks ago, we hatched out another little baby Chahoua. Oh my goodness. So cute. You forget how small they hatch out. Oh my gosh. And this one's stunning. If it has that kind of like milky shoulders and just the mottled pattern at like a month old, this thing is going to be insane when it is an adult. I cannot wait to see how it grows up and what colors it grows into. And that wraps up the Chahoua tour of the reptile room. And now we can go to one of my favorite genera, the beautiful Tachydromus. Starting it off strong with the Tachydromus smardinus. These guys are the kind of smaller. These guys are truly near and dear to my heart. They are my favorite genus that I currently keep because they are just so personable. They're out all the time. They're running around. They're inquisitive. Oh, somebody realized there's food. They're just so charismatic. I think that's like the best word for them. If you guys haven't seen one of my good friends, Zach Porritt with A Life Exotic on YouTube as well as on Instagram, I sent him like 6 of these guys and he is keeping them in his massive 20-foot greenhouse. He can pretty much go up and touch them if he wanted to. They will definitely reward you for being gentle and careful. And I mean, even here, like I could probably go in there and touch one of the females, but why bother? That is one of the females right there. They are sexually dichromatic, meaning the male actually has a different coloration. And he is right up here. He's got that really cool brown lateral line, whereas the females are completely green. Hi, sweetheart. Are you enjoying some snacks? Some bedtime snacks? Continuing with the trend, we actually have less tanks of Tachydromus now because we sold off a lot of the babies. However, it is baby season coming again here. I'm just going to throw a few more crickets in there. So these guys in here are Tachydromus dorsalis, the fantastic Sekishima grass lizard. I believe these are the largest body size of all the Tachydromus species. They do have a tail that's about 300% the length of their body, so a massive long tail, hence the long-tail grass lizards as kind of the genus, the catch-all phrase. That's my little female back there. She was brought in from Europe. Her name is Matcha. Turok is my original male from a buddy down in the US, and he's just chilling there. Like I said, it is kind of bedtime, so these guys are roosting up. I ended up trimming back this tank very heavily, as well as this one actually, but this tank I trimmed back super heavily, and finally the ficus is starting to grow along the top of the terrarium, and they love it. They sleep there every single night. It's so cool to see. They just love that like canopy effect. So it looks cool. I'm fine with it. And they enjoy it. Let's let them live the good life, you know what I mean? This is a probable pair from the male that I ended up losing last year, and Matcha. So that is this pairing in here. And they're doing fantastic. They're growing like weeds. They love to eat. So these two babies are actually originally from Turok and Midori. So the original two that I got from the US. These guys are now about a month and a bit old. I love them so much. Even as babies, they're so inquisitive and goofy and just hilarious that it's such a reward to raise them and to watch them grow. Unfortunately, they're not sexable right out of the egg, but that's honestly fine. Who cares? I love growing them up. And now, Midori, my sweet girl from the US. Hello. She is just a sweetheart. She is getting kind of up there with the age, and is unfortunately starting to show it. Her back legs don't work quite as well as they used to. She's still a ravenous eater, and still obviously very friendly. But definitely showing her age. These guys are about 10 years old now. That might be some of the longest lived Tachydromus that I've heard of. And I don't know when my buddy got them, if they were adults or if they were, you know, small little babies. Because if they're adults, then they're already a couple years old. So yes, that is Midori. She's doing great. Next to her, we have this goofball. He was actually sold to the US. So he'll be exported on the next export. Again, sleeping under the canopy effect, which is awesome. And surprisingly, right now, we actually do not have any baby Smaragdinus. We sold the last ones, and yeah, there just hasn't been any more that have hatched. That concludes the trip down the Emerald Dragon lane. I will be making another episode of the Emerald Dragon here pretty soon, and that will be a care guide on this genus, essentially. I will definitely make a few sweeping generalizations, as well as comment specifically about a few different things per species that I've kept. So make sure you keep your lookout on the channel for that. And I suppose the last thing on the list is the Mourning Geckos here. They are doing good. I don't know what to tell you about the Mourning Geckos. And look at all those eggs. Holy moly. They're actually on the roof and stuff too. They're absolutely everywhere. So if you guys want some Mourning Geckos, let me know. I do definitely want to set up a new enclosure for them. That will be probably like the 4th or 5th highest priority. And now we can go over to one of the last racks in the room, and you'll notice that a lot has changed. Actually, we've done some moving around, some mixing of things, and you guys already saw the beautiful Chahoua in there, and you saw the dart frogs. But what you didn't see, and this will be their last reptile room tour, is the Urodactylodes symmetricus, otherwise known as the large-scaled chameleon geckos, just Urodactylodes in general. I did mention that I was going to make a care video for them, and I do still plan to do that, just using some old clips and stuff of through the reptile room tours and whatnot, as well as getting some clips here of them, because they're just super cool. They're one of the best beginner pets, not necessarily the symmetricus, because they are typically quite expensive, just because they tend to produce a lot slower than the rest of the species. The species like the Agricolae, the Viardi, all those are incredible pets. Like, they are small enough to keep in a relatively small enclosure. These are 12 by 12 by 18s. They eat Pangea, as well as some insects. You can raise them on strictly Pangea and or Repashy. They are just such cool little geckos that make an incredible beginner pet. I mean, look how cool that thing is. But yes, they will be going to our good friends out in BC who ended up purchasing the pair as well as the babies. So that's super exciting. I'm very happy that they're going to a great home that will love them and will also continue to produce them for the hobby. These guys are the very cute, very beautiful Diplodactylus galeatus, otherwise known as the helmeted geckos, because it looks like they're kind of wearing a little casque or a little helmet. And they are one of the cutest things on this entire planet. These guys are very similar to the sand geckos that you're seeing a rise in popularity thanks to Adam and Dion for that, as well as Foddy. These guys are very similar, just essentially the Australian counterpart. So they're super charismatic, they're super funny, they stay very small. You can keep them in groups. I guess they do kind of carry a heftier price tag because they're all from Australia, so they're not wild caught. They do carry a much higher price tag than the like $18 for the sand geckos. These will run you probably about $250, $300. They are well worth the investment because they are just so darn cute. How could you argue with those eyes? They're just black, beady eyes. Oh, so cute. Anyways, that's enough going on about them. Keeping with the Australian trend, up here we have our beautiful Strophrus wellingtone just chilling. Nice out in the open. Love to see that. This is probably one of the coolest species of Strophrus. Just such a shame they're really not in Canada at all besides this one. And unfortunately, while we would love to ship her to the States, right now the US Border Patrol is being a punk and not letting anything Australian across the border. She is still currently available technically if you're in Canada and want a very beautiful lizard. We are selling her with her tank as well if you're local. Shoot us a DM or, you know, contact our website. There's truthfully not a whole lot to update you about her. Like, she's still doing well, she's still eating, she's doing just fine, and will stay doing just fine for the time being. And the last little goober on this rack is Mr. Shell. Again, it's bedtime for all these guys, so he is just vibing over in the corner, doing very well. There was some concern about his plastron, but as you can see, there is no blushing or anything like that. I guess the context behind that is when I took him into the vet, Dr. Alec was a little concerned that he had some blushing on his stomach. I was concerned obviously as well, so he ended up having me replace the substrate in here, which I did, as well as just keep an eye on it and make sure there's no blushing anymore. And as you guys just saw, there is no blushing. So Sheldon is doing fantastic, and very soon he'll be moving into a pen that spans the entire bottom of this rack here. The reason why is because I showed you guys at the beginning, the tank for them is almost built, and that will be going right here. These two will be moving over here, and then he will get the entire space along the bottom here. So that will probably be #1 priority after the whole blue histo tank is finished. It won't take me long to do. I love setting up pens for tortoises, and I cannot wait because Sheldon definitely deserves it. He is a G, one of the OGs, and truly one of the only OGs left, unfortunately. Very much a G, and I'm very much looking forward to my parents coming this summer and hanging out with him a little bit because I know they'll love seeing him. That is all with Shell, and unfortunately, because it is nighttime, all the Euros have gone to bed, so I really hesitate to talk about them for too long, but the Uromastyx Geri, they're doing fantastic. I have my boy Hugo as well as the baby Gertie or Gertrude. I think it's actually a male. That's what our buddy told us. So might have to change that name, but they're still eating, growing, you know, the usual. Unfortunately, if you guys haven't heard, several months ago now, my female Olga passed away. I was gifted a beautiful female from one of my good buddies, and unfortunately, she laid a clutch of about 5 duds and then passed immediately after. So a really rough few months there. I guess I'm still looking for a female. Not super hard because, frankly, I'm okay just raising Gertie and hoping that it's a female while trying to keep Hugo at a maintainable weight, because without another adult there, he tends to push Gertie around a little bit and get more food than he's used to getting. I do have to monitor that and keep an eye on them during their food time, but yeah. They're doing great. Down here, we have Indy, the northern blue-tongued skink, Taliqua skinkoides intermedia. That's unfortunate that Indy is not coming out. Indy is Bree's blue-tongued skink, and he is doing fantastic. He just completed a shed, so he is hanging out and being a G, but just not currently out right now. So, again, I'll show some footage from previous tours and whatnot so you guys can see what he looks like, but nothing's really changed with him. Doing well, kind of par for the course, and that's really all that we can ask for. If you guys didn't know, I guess I probably should have mentioned at the beginning, but these are all 4x2x2s. And now we can go to Mr. Ackman. You're actually out. So a few months ago now, I ended up taking Vulcan to Alec, our vet. It was discovered that he has gout. So what does that mean? There's no real treatment for gout. Just like in humans, you can essentially use the same kind of experimental drug for your reptiles, but it's certainly not proven to really work. So with that said, you guys can kind of see his back legs there looking quite inflamed, and just basically that other toe. After talking to my vet, as well as a buddy from the US, the really only solution is unfortunately end of life. If you guys don't know, I just ended up putting down my leopard gecko of 20 years, and that was Striker. I selfishly have chosen to keep him for now while he's still maintaining a good mobility and good energy levels. But the second I notice that starting to dip, then he will unfortunately have to go to the vet. Not something that I enjoy talking about or really thinking about, to be honest. To be fair to him, that's what I owe him. That's unfortunately part of my burden of owning reptiles and just being a pet owner, is you have to know when is the right time to pull the plug. And thankfully, my vet is also very honest and a good friend of mine, and will certainly not hesitate to share when he thinks it's time. That is Vulcan, my boy, the one that Cody produced all those years ago, and he was actually part of the first show that I ever vended, was with 3 Ackie monitors from his clutch. And I ended up keeping one of them. Universal rock background. We got a halogen light. We got 2 halogen lights, actually, for the basking spot. And then we also have UVB. The back light in the very back of the enclosure, I believe, did end up burning out. And unfortunately, this tank is essentially locked shut. Like, it is very, very hard to get open with the 2 tanks on top of it. I can only do so much. Unfortunately, that one random kind of aesthetic light just isn't worth the hassle to get in and replace. That is Vulcan. He is doing good overall. A bit of a sad update with him. And now with the 4-foot wall done, we can move to actually the first rack that you see when you come in the room, and that is this right here. So this tank, empty. We sold the Chahoua from here. This tank has our little goofball Ho down there, the beautiful baby Sonora annulata, an absolute stunner. So this was a captive hatched baby. They have not been captive bred yet here in our collection, unfortunately, but we are working on it, keeping on the Sonora crew. Unfortunately, the Arcadia Luminize is kind of powering down for the night. These guys are a bit more of a cathemeral species. They're just kind of active sporadically throughout the day and night. Thank you, Ho, for being the star of the show and the face of your people. He's getting big now. Like 2 years ago, he literally fit inside the top of a bottle cap, like a standard bottle cap. I already showed you the Chahoua. We do have some baby little Chameleon Geckos. As I mentioned, these are also going to our good friend out in BC who purchased the other ones. Breeze replacement jumping spider from somebody you guys might know, Mr. Dion, otherwise known as Reptiliatus. So this is a Phidippus regius and is also a female, so she should live for a good few years, which is exciting. And she'll probably like triple in size as well, so that's kind of cool. Down here we have Stu, the American toad, and he is actually leaving next week down to our good friend Jessica. Hopefully I can say that. I'm not going to say any more, but if you know Jessica online, you're probably thinking of the right one. He's growing and doing well. We think she's actually a female, even though I say he. Down here, some of you guys probably saw it earlier in the video, but I'm going to be making a full video on these. I'll just leave you with kind of a general overview. If you happen to spot what's in here, great. If you have a guess and want to leave it in the comments, I will answer truthfully if you guess it correctly. Better view at the back there. That will be a teaser for later. That was going to be kind of my 100K surprise or like treat myself kind of video, even though now we've passed that. This has been a marathon at sprinting pace, but we have almost made it to the very end, and that is this rack right here. I always love going through and showing you guys some of the babies that we have and the babies that we're currently raising. Before we get into that, I need to show you the iguana. Threw you guys a real curveball on that one. Titoka. Oh, hey, there's a cameo. Oh, he's gone. There was a cameo. I don't know if I got him on camera. But from the captive bred Malaysian house geckos that breathe through in here as pest control to hopefully eat the spiders, which they didn't. But these very rough-looking wild-caught geckos did incredible and have produced babies in here. There's actually more eggs up there, so really exciting, very cool. Maybe we'll end up having a Mourning Gecko-like community in here down the road. But for now, Bree actually did a lot of work on this a couple weeks ago. We ended up purchasing a hibiscus for him to chew on, and she went through and removed a lot of the dying plants. Like there was a whole layer of leaf litter essentially. There was a big pothos put in the back there that he had eaten and then just hadn't got watered, so it died. Fijian grass, it has definitely seen better days. We're really hoping that it continues to grow back. Now that I've talked all about what we've done to the enclosure, we can talk about Titoka. If you guys don't know, Titoka is a Fijian banded iguana, Brachylophus bula bula, and he is looking ravishing right now. Unfortunately, since we took him out of the room about a year ago, I guess now, or maybe a year and a half ago, he's lost a lot of his kind of tame mannerisms. While he doesn't really bite, he's just not a big fan of humans anymore. We do hope to change that in our new setup whenever we get a house. We'll have him in a much more well-trafficked area and really try and spend some time with him, because you can still get him out of the enclosure. It's just he tends to freak out a little bit while you're doing that. That is Titoka, the Fijian banded iguana. Suck it, all you Americans. This year we had a much better year in terms of hognose production, and you guys can see the sad faces of a bunch of baby hogs being communally housed right now. They're doing fantastic. I am not going to go through all these in this video. I do plan to make a very long kind of just hognose tour video. So we will go through and you guys can meet all the babies that we have available, the holdbacks, the grow-ups, everything all in one video. I have done it once before. However, we had significantly less hognoses at that time, and now there's a lot more cool stuff to update you guys with. That being said, we did hatch a gorgeous Arctic sunburst, and that little girl is right here. Holy smokes, that thing is outrageous. I don't know if it's coming up as well on camera as it is in person, but that thing is like bright pink with like orange circles on it. Insane. Absolutely insane. And we'll sell it for the right price. Don't let Bree tell you anything different. I'm just kidding. I'm going to pick 3 random grow-ups that I want to show off. I typically show off the same ones, so I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. So Avalon is a lavender het albino, and she's also tiger. And what makes a tiger is those continuous bands all the way down the side. But she is a stunning purple color. In person, she's much different than on camera. On camera, she looks a little bit more gray. However, in person, she truly is a nice purple hue, and she's typically pretty spicy. So, are you actually going to curl up under there? Wow, that's impressive. Okay, that massive snake just fit under the water dish, so cool. All right, That's awesome. Thank you, Avalon. And the next one on the list here is Banjo. He is an F1 wild type hognose. So we do have an F1 wild type pair. There's also one named Fiddle, and she is not being shown right now because I'm just showing Banjo. But yeah, that is like pretty much about as wild of a hognose as you can find in captivity. He's always very kind of spicy. Oh, roar. Something that you don't really see. Essentially, the purpose of this is to have something to outcross gene combinations with, just to kind of bring back the natural look of hognoses rather than having bug-eyed, short, stubby nose, really terrible structure hognoses. These guys are about as good as you can get. That's why Bree decided to pick them up. All right, and to keep things fresh in here, I'm going to show off one of our breeders for next year, and that is Puffin. She is a super Arctic tiger, het lavender, possible het sunburst. So that will be an exciting potential proving of hets and whatnot. But she is one of our babies, and she's a very pink super Arctic, and she's so fast. She is not super thrilled with the fact that she's on camera, but she's very pink, very beautiful, and with that being said, I am going to leave the conversing there. She's beautiful, just not all that friendly, I will say. And because I feel like I owe you guys a little something extra because of the lack of Puffin content, this here is Cantonero, a male Mexican hognose snake. So not a standard Western that you would see kind of in Alberta, the upper Western United States, that kind of deal. This is actually a different species from Mexico, Southern California. What's nice about them in comparison to the adult Westerns is this is an adult male. He's 4 years old and he's maybe 18 inches long, maybe. So the males are very small, but they can be kind of similar size to adult Western males. However, the female is about half the size of a female Western hognose. Absolutely insane. These guys are super cool. We do have eggs from them in the incubator, though we're not sure if they're going to hatch. Fingers crossed, if not for this year, then for next year, we'll have these guys available. But that is Cantonero. And now we can finish off with the rest of the rack, just to show off the female size as well. That is an adult female. Just about the same size as the male, to be honest. But you think about the, like, Equinox, who is about twice her length and size. That is a very small snake. This is Asher, another one of Bree's fantastically beautiful gray-banded kingsnakes. Still several years off from breeding, this guy is. We've only had him about 2 years or so. Still got some growing to do. I'm going to just say it so people don't say it in the comments, but you guys might be wondering, oh, why is there so much substrate in there? There's no substrate in the cup itself, otherwise it would cloud the water. That's actually all under the water. So we're using hemp substrate, and right next to Asher we have Cinder, who again is another one of Bree's beautiful gray band. Just super pretty coloration. How can you not love these snakes? Like, the combination of black, gray, and orange is just stunning. And I know there is a ton of other different like localities and kind of colorways of the gray-banded kingsnake, but I feel like this classic one is just elite. I don't think I've seen a nicer looking gray band to me than this just standard kind of default coloration. If you have some cooler pictures that you think, send them to me on Instagram. I'm always down to check them out and see what's going on. Love these guys. They look so funny. Their eyes are just so much bigger than, like, I feel like they should be. And I just had to slide her hideout here, but this is Sedona, my female Arizona mountain kingsnake. And again, she is many years off producing, but I'm very much looking forward to that day. Should be about 2 seasons from now, and she'll be ready for producing, hopefully, assuming she continues to grow and stays healthy, and that will be such an incredible day. I think that's a very nice thought to wrap up the reptile room tour with, is just, you know, raising an animal from a little tiny itty bitty baby all the way to producing the next generation of that species, like the turtles that I've done this year. Obviously, no babies yet, so we can't count that, but eggs are a step in the right direction. Just so many things here, like a lot of the hognoses we've done the same thing with. And it's just so rewarding. That's just my final thought. Feel free to finish that thought in the comments down below. If you guys have made it all the way to the very end, I want to say thank you so much. I do also want to promote AnimalCon. AnimalCon is this year, October 4th, that weekend, where you get to hang out with a ton of creators, including myself, Bree, and a lot of other huge animal creators in the niche. Very much worth the cost and expense to come hang out with us for a weekend. I did want to say a huge thank you to RealLink for sponsoring today's video. Truly, you guys, these products are incredible. I've been using them in the room now for about 2 weeks, and I love them. They're so cool to see reptiles and stuff at nighttime. They're so cool to make time lapses of the shenanigans of this video, so hopefully that turns out well. If you guys do want security for your reptile room, kind of espionage capabilities of spying on your critters at nighttime or during the day when you're at work, RealLinks are perfect for that. There are several camera models that you can check out. RealLink is having a huge sale for Amazon Prime Day, so make sure you go check them out. And that's going to wrap up the video. So I want to say thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more reptile content coming in the near future. There are going to be some incredible videos. Thanks. Bye-bye.